And today we will discuss about the normal physiological phenomena of bone modeling and remodeling. So, discuss about the normal functioning of bone. You already know that bone or osseous tissue is a specialized rigid connective tissue that forms the skeleton. Now, this bone consists of special types of cells and tough intercellular matrix of ground substance. The matrix is formed by the organic substance like collagen, and it is strengthened by the deposition of mineral salts like calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. Now, throughout life, the bone is renewed by the process of bone formation and bone resorption. Now, if we consider the functions of bone, the bone is assigned very important functions in our body. For example, it has protective function, it has mechanical function, it has metabolic function, and it has hemopoietic function. So if we consider the protective function, bone provide the framework and protect the soft tissues and vital organs of the body. Then if you consider the mechanical function, bones support the body, and in addition, by their attachment to the muscles and tendons, the bone act as liver. The bone act as levers to bring out various movements of the body. So by this structural framework, the bone is able to support the body, to provide attachment. So if you consider the mechanical function, bones support the body. So in addition, by their attachment to the muscles and tendons, the bone act as liver to bring out the various movement of the body. Again, if we consider the metabolic function, bones play a very important role in the metabolism and homeostasis of calcium and phosphate in the body. Then, hemopoietic function, the red bone marrow in the bone is the site of production of blood cells. So, these were the main function of the bones. Okay. So the matrix, which is basically composed of the protein fibers called the collagen fibers, and these collagen fibers are embedded in the gelatinous ground substance. Now these collagen fibers, they basically form about 90% of the bone, and the ground substance is formed by the ECF and proteoglycans, and the proteoglycans are chondroitin sulfate and hyaluronic acid, which are concerned with the regulation and deposition of bone salts. Now the bone salts. What are the bone salts? The crystalline salts which are present in the bone. The crystalline salts which are present in the bone are called hydroxyapatite. What are they called? They are called as hydroxyapatite, which contain calcium and phosphate. They contain calcium and phosphate. So the hydroxyapatite is basically the crystalline salt present in the bone. Now the salt of these bone strengthen the bone matrix. So what is the function? Now what is the function of this hydroxyapatite? They basically, these salts strengthen the bone matrix. Now coming to the types of bone. Now, basically, there are two types of bone, the compact bone and the spongy bone. The compact bone, also known as the cortical bone, is hard and dense material forming about 80% of the bone in the body. This compact bone, it comprises about 80% of the bone in the body, and its main function are mechanical function and the protection of bone marrow, mechanical and protective function. Whereas the second type of bone, which is the spongy bone or cancellous bone. So the spongy bone or the trabecular bone or the cancellous bone, it forms about 20% of the bones in our body. Now it is made up of bone spicules which are separated by spaces. The spongy bone contains the red bone marrow. It contains the red bone marrow. Now, if we consider the different type of cells which are present in the bone, they include the osteoblast, the osteoclast, the osteocytes, and the bone lining cells. So these are the different type of cells found in the bone. So these are the different type of cells which are present in the bone: the osteoblast, the osteoclast, the osteocyte, and the bone lining cells. Now we will discuss one by one. Now, what is osteoblast and what are the function of osteoblast? The osteoblast, basically, they are concerned with bone formation. What are osteoblasts? They are concerned with bone formation and are situated in the outer surface of bone, the marrow cavity, and the epiphyseal plate. Now, where these osteoblasts arise? These osteoblasts basically arise from the giant multinucleated primitive cells called the osteoprogenitor cells. So these osteoblasts, they arise from the giant multinucleated primitive cells called the osteoprogenitor cells. And the differentiation of osteoprogenitor cells into osteoblast is accelerated by some hormones and some bone proteins called skeletal growth factors. The growth factors stimulate the growth of osteoblast also. So what is the main function of this osteoblast? Is basically the main function of osteoblast is role in the formation of bone matrix, role in calcification, then synthesis of protein. So if we consider the role in the formation of bone matrix, how the osteoblast help? Osteoblasts are responsible for the synthesis of bone matrix by secreting type 1 collagen and a protein called matrix GLA protein or osteocalcin. So this is the basic thing, that is the type 1 collagen and the matrix GLA protein, which is responsible for the synthesis of the bone matrix. So the other proteins involved in the matrix synthesis are also produced by the osteoblast, and these include for example, insulin-like growth factor, the fibroblast growth factor, and the platelet-derived growth factor. These are all basically the factors which are responsible for the synthesis of matrix by the osteoblast. Then the very second function of the osteoblast is the role in calcification. Now, what is calcification? Now, calcification is basically the deposition of calcium in the bone matrix. So what happens? The osteoblasts, they are rich in the enzyme alkaline phosphatase, and this enzyme is necessary for the deposition of calcium in the bone matrix, and this is basically the process of calcification. Then the third very important function of osteoblast include the synthesis of proteins. So osteoblast synthesize the protein matrix GLA protein and osteopontin, which are involved in the calcification. So what is the fate of this osteoblast? Now this osteoblast, after taking part in the bone formation, the osteoblasts are converted into osteocytes. They differentiate to become the osteocytes, which are trapped inside the lacunae of the calcified bone. So the second type of bone cells, the osteocyte. You can see here the osteocyte, the osteoclast, and the bone lining cells. So coming to the osteocyte. Osteocytes, they are basically concerned with the maintenance of bone. and are small, flattened and rounded cells embedded in the bone lacunae. Now, these bone cells are the main cells of the developed bone and are derived from these osteocytes. They are basically derived from the, as you see, they are derived from the mature osteoblast. They are derived from the mature osteoblast. So what is the function of these osteocytes? These osteocytes, they basically help to maintain the bone as living tissue because of their metabolic activity. And secondly, they maintain the exchange of calcium between the bone and the extracellular fluid. So this is the main function of these osteocytes. Now coming to the third type of bone cell, which is the osteoblast. Osteoblast, we have already discussed. Now the osteoclast. Now osteoclast, what are osteoclasts? Now these osteoclasts are basically concerned with bone resorption. They are concerned with bone resorption. Now mind it, osteoblast concerned with bone formation. Osteoclast concerned with bone resorption. So osteoclasts are the giant phagocytic multinucleated cells found in the lacunae of the bone matrix. So these bone cells are derived from hemopoietic stem cells via monocyte, that is the colony forming unit monocyte. Then the fourth type of cell, which are basically the lining cells, they are flat elongated cells and they generally inactive and they cover the surfaces of the inactive bone. They are generally inactive. So you can see here the different type of, the main type of bones, the osteoclast and the osteoblast. So what is bone modeling? The bone modeling is basically, this bone modeling is basically, you can say that is depend upon the formation. It basically depends upon the bone growth and its shaping. So the bone modeling is basically consists of the bone growth and the shaping of bone. It occurs during the first 2 decades of life in human. So bone modeling, which is basically concerned with the bone growth. Bone growth comprises of ossification and calcification. And what is ossification? The conversion of cartilage into bone is called ossification. The conversion of cartilage into bone is called ossification. So you very well know that at the time of birth, the skeleton consists of 50% cartilage and 50% bone. So at the age of 2 and thereafter, that is as the age advances, what happens? The skeleton comprises of 35% cartilage and 65% bone. So basically the cartilage portion is replaced by the bony portion. So, and this is basically the process of ossification, that is the conversion of cartilage into bone. This ossification is carried out by the osteoblast, which enter the cartilage and lay down the matrix around them. So osteoblast, they synthesize the collagen fibrils, which produce the matrix called the osteoid, and then calcium is deposited on the matrix, and this deposition of calcium is called calcification. So basically the bone growth comprises 2 important processes, the ossification and the calcification. Calcification, the deposition of calcium. So in the mature adult skeleton, modeling may occur in response to altered biomechanical stress, such as that induced by vigorous exercise, although the capacity of the skeleton to respond in this way decreases with increasing age. So you can say the process of bone modeling involves both the bone formation and the bone resorption. So again, this modeling also occurs as a part of the fracture healing process. So again, there is another term which is called remodeling. Basically, you, as I told you, that modeling basically consists of the growth of bone, which involves the process of ossification, calcification. Then there is another term which is called bone remodeling. Now, what is that remodeling? Basically, in adults, the bony tissue is kept in dynamic equilibrium by means of remodeling. this remodeling is basically responsible for keeping the bone tissue in dynamic equilibrium. So usually it takes place in groups of bone cells called the basic multicellular unit. So the entire process of remodeling extends for about 100 days in compact bone and about 200 days in spongy bone. Now, this bone remodeling includes two processes. It basically includes two processes: bone resorption and bone formation. Bone resorption and bone formation. So, bone resorption में क्या होगा? There will be destruction of the entire bone matrix and removal of calcium. There will be destruction of the entire bone matrix and removal of calcium, and this bone resorption is basically an osteoclastic activity. This is an osteoclastic activity. Whereas the second process, which is included in the bone remodeling, is the bone formation. Bone formation is basically development and mineralization of new matrix, and it is an osteoblastic activity. So we will discuss these two processes one by one. The very first process, which is bone resorption. What happens in this process? It is the process that involves a destruction of entire matrix of the area of the basic multicellular unit, followed by the removal of calcium. So simply you can say that here the destruction of entire bone matrix and removal of calcium takes place. How? So the question arises how? Osteoclasts are responsible for the bone resorption by their osteoclastic activity. Now consider the part of the bone to be resorbed is termed as the bone resorbing compartment. Mind it, the part of the bone which is taken for resorbing is termed as the bone resorbing compartment. So what happens? The osteoclast present in the bone resorbing compartment. The osteoclast present in the bone resorbing compartment attaches itself to the periosteal or endosteal surface of the bone through villi-like membranous extension. So what happens? That the osteoclast, these osteoclasts, they attaches themselves to the periosteal or endosteal surface of the bone through villi-like projection. You can see here. So what happened? Now this process is mediated by the surface receptors, which are called integrins. Now at the point of attachment, a ruffle border is formed by the folding of the cell membrane. There forms a ruffle border. You can see here that there forms a ruffle border is formed, and resorption of that particular bone resorbing compartment occur by the activity of the osteoclast. So some substance released from the membranous extension of the osteoclast, such as collagenase, phosphatase, lysosomal enzymes, acid like citric acid and lactic acid, these are all released by the osteoclast in this bone resorbing compartment for the activity of bone resorption. So what is the sequence of events which occur during bone resorption? So what do you have? The citric and lactic acid, which are released from the osteoclast, basically causes the acidification of the area. What they do? They causes the acidification of the area and decrease the pH to 4. They decrease the pH to 4. Secondly, the lysosomal enzymes are activated at this pH. That is, at the pH 4, the lysosomal enzymes, they get activated. Now by this activation, the activated enzymes digest or dissolve the collagen. So what they do, they digest or dissolve the collagen. They basically digest and dissolve the collagen, and enzymes also dissolve the hydroxyapatite and form solution of bone salts. So again, what happened? The hydroxyapatite, which are basically the crystalline salts of calcium and phosphate, they are also dissolved, and these enzymes dissolve them and form solution of bone salts. So all the dissolved material are now released into the extracellular fluid. Some elements enter the blood and the remaining elements are cleaned up by the macrophages, and by these activities, a shallow cavity is formed in the bone resorbing compartment. A shallow cavity is formed in the bone resorbing compartment. So by the activity of the osteoclast, what happens? The bone is resorbed, and as a result, a shallow cavity is formed at the bone resorbing compartment. Now, next, what occurs? Now the activity of the osteoblast start. So what happens? Osteoblastic activity में क्या होगा? The osteoblastic activity is basically the formation of the bone, which is osteoblastic activity. So it is the process which involves the synthesis of collagen and formation of bone matrix that is mineralized. So these osteoblasts, they are basically concerned with bone formation. Osteoblasts synthesize and release collagen into the shallow cavity which was formed as a result of the resorption. So what happens? These osteoblasts, they synthesize and release collagen into the shallow cavity formed after resorption. So the collagen fibers, they arrange themselves in regular units and form the organic matrix called the osteoid. अब क्या बना इस एक्टिविटी से? ऑस्टियोब्लास्ट सेल्स की एक्टिविटी से ऑस्टियोइड्स बना. नाउ द प्रोसेस ऑफ मिनरलाइजेशन टेक्स प्लेस. अब मिनरलाइजेशन क्या होती है? मिनरलाइजेशन इज बेसिकली it starts about the 10 to 12 days after the formation of osteoid. So in this process, first a large quantity of calcium phosphate is deposited, and afterward the hydroxide and the bicarbonate ions are gradually added, causing the formation of hydroxyapatite crystals. And what are hydroxyapatite crystals? They are basically the crystalline salts of calcium and phosphate. So this process of mineralization, it is accelerated by the enzyme alkaline phosphatase, and this alkaline phosphatase is also secreted by the osteoblast. So the process requires the availability of adequate amount of calcium and phosphate in the ECF. So by this two process, the osteoblastic activity and the osteoclastic activity, minded the process of bone remodeling occurs throughout in our life. So this bone remodeling, it occurs throughout in our life by the expense of two main process, which is the bone resorption and the bone formation. Bone resorption, osteoclastic activity, and the bone formation is basically the osteoblastic activity. So what is the significance of this bone remodeling? This bone remodeling is basically in children, by this bone remodeling, thickness of bone increases by continuous process of bone destruction and bone formation. That is the osteoclastic activity and the osteoblastic activity. The thickness of bone increases and the bone obtains strength in proportion to the growth. Shape of the bone is realtered in relation to the growth of the body. So in children, it is basically very important so that the bones of the children may attain thickness and toughness. Again, in adults, remodeling of bone is responsible for the maintenance of toughness of the bone. So it is responsible for the toughness of bone, and it is because of replacement of the old matrix by new matrix. That is, by this continued process, the resorption and formation, the old matrix is replaced by the new matrix. So the regulation of bone remodeling involves a complex interplay between systemic hormones, mechanical stimuli, and locally produced cytokines, growth factors, and other mediators. So again, if you consider the different hormones, what is the role of the different hormones in this remodeling? Many systemic hormones, they influence the bone modeling and remodeling. And again, mind it, you should know the difference between modeling and remodeling. In addition to these sex steroids, The hormones which are going to aid these processes include the parathyroid hormone, thyroid hormone, growth hormone, glucocorticoids, and 1,2,5-dihydroxycholecalciferol. So many of these, they act via the production of locally produced factors and may also interact with mechanical stimuli to affect bone modeling and remodeling. So these are the names of the systemic hormones which are going to influence the process of bone modeling and remodeling. So the metabolic function of the skeleton, they are served in large part by two major calcium regulating hormones, and you very well know that what are the two major calcium regulating hormones, the parathyroid hormone and the 1,2,5-dihydroxycholecalciferol or vitamin D. In addition, a third hormone which is called calcitonin. Calcitonin secreted by the thyroid cells, which can inhibit bone resorption. It may be important in skeletal development, but appears to play little role in physiological calcium regulation in adult humans. So this is a potent inhibitor of bone resorption and is used clinically in the treatment of osteoporosis. And again, what is osteoporosis? Osteoporosis is basically, it is a bone disease which is involved, in which there is this bone disease is basically characterized by the loss of bone matrix and minerals. It occurs due to excessive bone resorption and decreased bone formation, and it is very common in old age and in females, osteoporosis. Now the parathyroid hormone, it regulates the serum calcium concentration. It is a very, very potent stimulator of bone resorption, and it has biphasic effect on bone formation. So there is an acute inhibition of collagen synthesis with high concentration of parathyroid hormone. But prolonged intermittent administration of this hormone produces increased bone formation, a property for which it is being explored clinically as an anabolic agent. So again, mind that this parathyroid hormone, it is basically a regulator of calcium ion concentration, and it is a potent stimulator of bone resorption. Then growth hormone, acting through both systemic and local insulin like growth factor. So this growth hormone can stimulate bone formation and resorption. Glucocorticoids are necessary for bone cell differentiation during development, but the greatest postnatal effect is to inhibit the bone formation. Again, thyroid hormone can also stimulate the bone resorption and formation and are critical for the maintenance of normal bone remodeling. So these are all the effect of the different systemic hormones which are going to act directly on the bone modeling and remodeling process. Then again, another very important hormone, estrogen. So estrogen deficiency leads to an increase in bone remodeling, in which resorption, outstrip formation, and bone mass decreases. So in old age and in females, when after menopause, when there is estrogen deficiency, what happens? The osteoporosis, the bone disease, is very common. Why? Because it is characterized by the loss of bone matrix. And what is the main cause? Because it occurs due to excessive bone resorption and decreased bone formation. So there is no balance between the osteoclastic and the osteoblastic activity. There is excessive bone resorption and decreased bone formation. So it is very common in postmenopausal women, but also in men, it may occur with defects either in the estrogen receptors or in the synthesis of estrogen from testosterone. Estrogen treatment produces a decrease in both the formation and resorption of bone associated with decreased remodeling, but increased bone mass. So again, the main treatment for this estrogen deficiency is that you can give the replacement therapy for this estrogen. Then the parathyroid hormone, which is basically going to cause mobilization of calcium from the bone, enhancement of absorption of calcium from the small intestine, and suppression of calcium loss in the urine. This is the main factors which are going to regulate the parathyroid hormone. So mobilization of calcium from the bone, and again this parathyroid hormone, it also It is regulated by the increased absorption of calcium from the small intestine, and again at the same time suppression of calcium loss in the urine. So osteoporosis, as I already told you, age-related disorder characterized by reduced bone mass, and due to this reduced bone mass, that is when there is excessive bone resorption, when there is excessive osteoclastic activity and decreased bone formation. So there is an increase in susceptibility to fracture in the absence of other recognizable causes of bone loss. So this is a disorder which is basically characterized by increased skeletal mass fragility due to decreased bone mass and microarchitectural deterioration of bone tissue. So the principal complications of osteoporosis are the fracture in particular site, and the three most important sites which are involved in these fractures. There is the fracture of the proximal femur, vertebral body, or the distal radius. These are the commonest site for the fractures in osteoporosis. So there is a very common fracture, that is a fracture of hip. You commonly say that is basically the proximal femur, which is involved in this osteoporosis. So throughout childhood, bone mass increases linearly with skeletal growth, as I already told you that by the bone modeling, which basically involves the growth of bone, the ossification, the calcification. So throughout childhood, this bone mass increases linearly with the skeletal growth. So a rapid increase in density occurs during puberty as much as 40%. So by this osteoblastic activity, the cartilage is converted into bone, and 65% of the in adulthood, there is about 65% bone mass and 35% cartilage. So bone density continues to increase for several years until maximum bone mass is achieved. So when the maximum bone mass is achieved, this is basically termed as the peak bone mass. Peak bone mass. So this peak bone mass is regulated by different factors. For example, you can see here that the genetic influences about 75%. Then nutritional factors, which are basically the intake of our dairy products, which is going to affect the peak bone mass, then the mechanical factors and the hormonal factors. So all these factors are basically going to affect the peak bone mass. And in this case, the genetic influences is about the 75%. So this bone remodeling, annual rate of 25% in trabecular bone and 2 to 3% in compact cortical bone. By the expense of this bone remodeling, what happens? That continuous removal of bone tissue and continuous formation of the new matrix is occurring due to this bone remodeling. So following the attainment of peak bone mass, once the peak bone mass is achieved during the adulthood, a gradual loss of bone occurs with aging in both the sexes. So in women, bone loss before menopause is less as compared to that which occurs after the menopause due to the estrogen deficiency. So osteoporosis, the main causes you can enlist that it can be due to estrogen deficiency, it can be due to adequate calcium intake, that is inadequate dietary intake, inadequate intake of milk and all the dairy products, and inadequate physical activity. So these are the main factors which become the cause of this osteoporosis. The main is the estrogen deficiency, inadequate calcium intake, and the inadequate physical activity. So the epidemiology of this osteoporosis, basically women beyond menopause, that is after the menopausal age, when there is a deficiency of estrogen, this is the main factor which is going to lead to this osteoporosis. So in elderly women and men, where there is increase of vitamin D or increased parathyroid hormone, reduced physical activity, and reduced calcium diet. So the treatment which you can take, Basically, when there is the deficiency of estrogen, the main treatment depends upon the estrogen replacement therapy. Then again, if there is inadequate calcium in the diet, you can increase it by calcium supplementation and regular weight bearing exercises, that is the increased physical activity. And again, it basically depend upon the diet. You have to increase, you have to um, uh, correct your diet by the intake of calcium supplement and the dairy products, milk, and all these. So the treatment depends upon the causative factor, that is the estrogen replacement therapy, calcium supplementation, regular weight bearing exercise, and diet. So now here we finishes our lecture. So any question? You Now, very first question: difference between modeling and remodeling. Modeling is basically the bone growth, the process of bone growth. So, in this bone growth, as I already told you, that it basically consists of the ossification and calcification, that is the conversion of cartilage into bone, and then the addition of calcium. So, and remodeling is basically after that, that when you can see that when there is in adult stage, in the adult, when the bone tissue is kept in dynamic equilibrium by means of remodeling, that is, there is continuous osteoblastic and osteoclastic activity, so that the old matrix is replaced by the new one. So this is the basic difference. Now, if the effect of parathyroid hormone is biphasic, then why there is bone loss in hyperparathyroidism in the long term? Because parathyroid hormone is basically going to regulate this, so there will be bone loss in hyperparathyroidism. There is it is related to decreased calcium. Are bone lining cells same as osteoprogenitor cells? Bone lining cells are not the osteoprogenitor cells. The bone lining cells are basically the four type of cells which remain inactive, and they are caused active by the activity of the of the cells depending upon the condition. The basically, as we discussed, that there are four type of cells in the bone: the osteoblast, the osteoclast, the osteocytes, and the bone lining cells. These bone lining cells basically remain inactive. The osteoblast, they are concerned with a bone formation, and they osteoblasts, they arise from the giant multinucleated primitive cells called the osteoprogenitor cells. The osteoprogenitor cells are basically the primitive cells. They are the primitive cells. The bone lining cells are one of the type of the cells which are present, and they remain inactive until unless they are activated. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Welcome.